Good morning, everyone. Dan Bates, President and CEO, Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, and we are glad you could join us this morning for Coffee and Conversations. Today, we're very excited to have Patrick Wright and John Dotson from SERVPRO, and they're going to talk to you about what happens when you have property damage from water, fire, mold, and biohazards, and what you do and how you mitigate that damage. So we'll turn it over to them in just a little bit. But let me tell you how this works. If you are on Zoom with the rest of us, you can just ask questions. I'm sure that John and Patrick won't mind if you interrupt them to ask a question. If you're on Facebook Live, type your question in, and Laura will repeat it so that it can get answered. And with that, you know who our presenter is going to be, you know who I am, and now we're going to find out who all of you are. So let's see if I have everybody here on my screen. Billy, why don't we start with you?
Hey guys, I'm Billy with Family Promise of Butler County. We're gearing up for our Dot Dash race at Markham Park on June 8th. Looking for sponsors if anybody's interested. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Sandy.
Good morning. Sandy Kusnoff with Brinks Glass. We're a full service glass company that does automobile, residential, and commercial glass.
Chantel. Chantel's still muted. You're muted, Chantel. Let's go to Ben and then we'll come back. There she is.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I was stuck in some weird screen. My name is Chantel Ragu. I'm a veterinarian at an Oxford Veterinary Hospital. And then I'm also vice mayor in Oxford, and I'm running for Butler County Commissioner this year. I think a key thing would be my clinic also does some feral cat spay and neuters that we fundraise for.
Okay, cool. Ben.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Ben Cornish with First Financial Bank right here in Hamilton.
Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Grubb with the Greater Hamilton Chamber.
I don't think we missed anybody, so we're going to get started here in just a minute. And just to let all of you know, this will go on our YouTube channel after this, and so people can watch it if they have questions or follow-up or whatever, want to share it with someone else. So with that, John and Patrick, we're turning it over to you. Oh, I'm sorry, Laura. Forgot Laura.
Hello, everyone. I'm Laura Merrill with the Greater Hamilton Chamber.
Okay, now Patrick and John, it's yours.
Yes. Laura, do you have to screen share again?
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate the time. So we are SERVPRO. We actually have two territories that we cover, East Central Cincinnati and Oxford Hamilton. So really the tri-state, but we can go anywhere that we are called. So we're happy to travel to losses of any size. Really, what does SERVPRO do? So SERVPRO, we are a 24/7, 365 emergency response. We cover water, fire, cleanup and restoration, but we also cover a lot of different service lines, which you'll see in the next slide. We cover mold, carpet cleanings, duct cleanings, biohazard and trauma cleanups, general cleanings of all sorts, and then also some really unique and more specialized drying with document restoration and some different areas like that are more out of the box that we can also help with. We have over 2,000 franchises nationwide and also in Canada and Mexico. And then we also cover and travel for storm and catastrophe cleanups. Can be anything from a hurricane to a winter storm, to a building that isn't intended to get hit with whether it's a person creating the damage or it's a weather event. We're going to travel all around the country and be able to set up for those. Next slide, like we were talking about, different service lines that we offer. Really, we want to be a one-stop shop. So you know, when you have a loss in your area or your home, your business, we want you to be able to call us and us to coordinate, take the stress off of the homeowner or the tenant, so that you know, they can get back to their normal everyday life. Here is a photo. It's a kind of just a unique picture that we walk into regularly. So what do you do when your house is underwater? You know, let me pop back in there. Sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. All right, back to the slide. So what do you do when your home is underwater? You know, the first thing obviously is to call a professional. So reaching out to SERVPRO, our goal is to get this taken care of, cleaned up, and you back in order as quickly and as efficiently as possible. We do that by working with your insurance carrier, your adjuster, agent, to make sure that all the coverage is in place, and that you're dried out and, like I said, back in order as quickly as possible, so that you have the most limited time that you're off and thrown off because of the damage that you're experiencing.
John, excuse me, John. Can anybody see the slides? Because I can't.
No, I can't.
Screen share is not working.
I'm not sure, guys. I have it up on my end. I see the slides. Let me see if I can.
Did you hit the green share screen at the bottom of the Zoom?
Yeah, we had it before. Let's see. Green line. Share button.
There
There
we
we
go.
go.
Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you guys weren't looking at those.
That's better. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for letting me know. All right, so we'll click through here. Back to where we were at. Playing catch up on as well. All right, can everybody see the picture of the kitchen there?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So as we were talking about, different losses are going to require different equipment. So this is an example of a water loss that we did in the last 3 months, where they had a bathroom overflow from above into their kitchen below. As you can see, when we got there, the light that was actually right there was full of water. So we had to take that down. We cut out the affected drywall to create an open area so that we could dry the wall cavities or the ceiling cavities, and make sure that any of the building materials there are dried out. So what we did is we set up a containment. As you can see, the wall that was open, just so that we could not kick any debris into another room. Also, it keeps our air away. It just kind of keeps that ambient air in there, make sure that the area is dried out. We can actually separate the drying zone. So the specialized equipment that we have air movers facing straight directly up into the affected wet ceiling above. And then that larger green machine that you see there is a dehumidifier. So that's going to pull any of the air in the relative humidity in the room. It's going to pull that into the machine and then kick that out through a purge line that you can actually see. It's going across the back of the countertop there, and that's going to kick that into the drain so that moisture can be pulled out, and obviously isn't still in the kitchen, causing any secondary damage, causing any mold growth or different microbial growth, because we're eliminating that. So the first thing to do in any water loss is going to be to remove that water, that bound water. So we use moisture meters, we use different drying tools to do that, and make sure that when we leave that kitchen, there's no more water. Everything is dried up, and then it's ready, cleaned up for our reconstruction team to come in, put that back, so that, like I said, you're not out very long, and it's a one-stop shop. You don't have to call anybody else in. Don't have to get any other contractors involved. You just call SERVPRO. They're handling it all. We know if you've ever had work done at your property, how challenging it can be when you've got multiple hands running the project, multiple things going on. So we really try to limit that in any place that we can to make the entire process easier on the customer. The process that we go through in this is going to be, it's always going to be remove, clean, dry, and then replace. So, if we work out of order, if we're drying first and then we're cleaning after the fact, it doesn't go as smooth or as effectively as it could throughout the process. So we like to make sure that we're repeating the same process, even though each loss is going to be unique. The processes that we put in place and the drying science that we use is the same across the board. And then obviously having the correct equipment and the correct amount of equipment is key, because if we need, say, an area is calling for 10 air movers and we put 2 in there, obviously we're not drying it as effectively as we could or as efficiently. So it's going to extend that drying time. It's going to throw off that calculation, the science aspect behind getting that wet trap bound material out of there. So it's key that we use the correct equipment and make sure, even though it might look like a lot sometimes, there is a science behind why we put that amount of equipment in. Does anybody have any questions for me? All right, we will continue on. Here's some examples of fire losses that we've had. Lately, these are all pictures that we have taken. In the first one, you can see that was a kitchen fire. It actually happened from something that was on top of the stove. And that soot was spread throughout the house. So in the second picture, a key indication for soot damage throughout the house is cobwebs, because soot is going to find those flat surfaces and also the surfaces like the corners of the room where cobwebs are. And it's going to latch to that. So when we go through, we do our inspections, we're going to see, hey, there's soot in other areas. Maybe this happened in the kitchen, but a back bedroom also has soot in it. It's because that air is traveling throughout the home, and especially if your HVAC system is on, it's going to continue to travel and send that to every room that your registers are open in. So we need to make sure that we get to the end of that. And make sure that all of it is mitigated, cleaned up correctly, so that you don't have any long-lasting effects, and that we're putting you into a safe structure when you're going back into your home. The last picture there is actually an old, it was an old pool room in a home that they had an electrical fire in. So it was a little bit easier for us to manage as far as, it didn't travel very far. Luckily for the customer, we were able to keep it pretty contained to the basement since it was a blocked room. And what we did there is we ended up cleaning it, getting all the soot that we cut off, and then we sealed that room completely after it. So you use some different paints to seal the walls, make sure that there was no chance for any of that the smell to seep back out. And then put different air filtration devices in the room as well to make sure that any of that smell was going to be going through the air scrubber that we put on site, and making sure that we're eliminating it. We take that air scrubber out of the fire damage. Anybody have any questions about fire before we talk about some mold? No, just that we don't want to have fires at our home. I understand that. So the microbial growth, we don't call anything mold unless it's tested. Reason being is because a lot of things appear to be mold. All we can know for sure is that they're microbial growth. And it really, like I said, if we don't test it for mold, we're not going to call it mold. So here are some pictures of mold remediations that we've tested for. We know they're mold, and we had to remove them from the structure. So again, it's going to be the same process as far as getting it out, eliminating the source first. We're going to use such equipment as HEPA vacuums to make sure that we're pulling those mold spores out of the room. We're also going to treat it with an antimicrobial, and we do a sandwich wash. So a sandwich wash where we HEPA vac, we clean with an antimicrobial, and then we'll go back and we'll HEPA vacuum again to make sure that any of those spores are collected and removed from the site. More often than not, when we test originally to confirm that there is mold in a structure. It's an air sample test rather. It can also be a tape lift test. There's a couple different ways that we can do it. We send off those tests to an independent lab to actually get the results. They let us know what molds are found in there in the structure, and then we come up with a cleaning protocol to make sure that we can facilitate removing those any harmful molds in the structure, getting those cleaned, and then back in order. So exactly what that process is going to look like before we get on site, so that you guys have an accurate picture to us.
I have a question on mold.
Yes,
Is
Sandy.
it covered under insurance?
It depends on the policy. It really just depends on how your policy is written. A lot of times, we see that it is covered. However, we've also walked into the examples of where it's not covered. And I think it just depends on like I said, it just depends on the insurance and depends on the policy that you have specifically.
So what do we need to look for in our policy?
Yeah. Patrick, do you want to?
Yeah, your policy will dictate in there if you have, sometimes it'll be verbiage of mold growth, but 9 times out of 10, it'll be a biological growth or anything along those lines. Insurance policies are typically created for what we call sudden peril. Sudden peril is a broken pipe, a fire, something that's not long and ongoing. Mold is typically something that is long and ongoing before it arises. However, there are situations, and this is where it gets a little gray, is from a water damage that is a sudden peril, and maybe the homeowners out of town did not know it happened. We've had several instances where it's an elderly person in the and they don't get to the basement, and because of being a water damage, the mold growth will be covered typically in those situations. We always advocate for the homeowner, and we'd much rather the insurance industry pay for these things than the homeowners. So we do everything in our power to, get the insurance company to cover it if it's possible.
And just to add to that, like Patrick was talking about, if something is ongoing where the homeowner doesn't find it, a lot of times there's other ways for us to work with them and just make sure that the customer is taken care of, because the insurance company does not want to put somebody back into a position of potentially getting them sick and then having to pay for that. They also don't want to insure a structure that isn't 100% sound, that they're not sure what's going on with it, right? So a lot of times they'll say, hey, can we cover this under water loss? What are we going to have to do to make sure that the customer gets taken care of? And we work that out. That's why we work hand in hand with the different agents in our area, different adjusters in our area, and all around the country to make sure that they have all the information they need to make informed decisions on. And we touch base with them throughout the entire process of the loss, so that they know each and every stage that we're in. And anything that we found, anything that would throw us off, more often than not, if you're taking up a floor, the previous person didn't want to take that floor out, right? They wanted to just put a new floor over top of what they had. So when we're explaining to an insurance company, hey, we're taking out multiple layers of floor, well, why? And then we show them pictures of and explain what the process is, because this home has been renovated several times, and that's why there are multiple layers of flooring. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So we're just painting that picture for the insurance.
For example, that middle picture, that's actually not as dirty as you think. That is mostly glue that is left behind from one of these multiple layers of flooring. And the reason we have to remove the multiple layers is that bound moisture that you can't get out. Ergo, you have mold growth potential if you do not get it through. We all fall prey to the waterproof vinyl flooring nowadays. It is truly not waterproof. Water won't kill it, water won't destroy it, but water gets underneath it, and it will grow. Microbial growth will occur underneath the vinyl floor. So we a lot of times will try to disassemble them as best as we can, and a lot of times they can be dried and put back together. So they are salvageable, but they are not able to stay in place.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, that's a good one that Patrick's talking about, because we get that question all the time. Well, I only put this floor in 6 months ago, and I was told it was completely waterproof. And the person at Home Depot sold it to me because they said it was waterproof. And they're right. You know, we could go take a piece of that plank floor and shower with it, dry it off, and put it in our floor and not have any issues, right? Because it's vinyl, so it's not going to absorb that material like a hardwood floor would. However, like Patrick was talking about, that vapor barrier that it's creating, because you can't pull the moisture back through that. So once that water is trapped underneath, there's not a whole lot you can do other than taking that floor up. And those floors are not meant to be taken up, put back together, taken up, put back together. And if you've ever put one in, you know how small those little plastic channels are and how easy they can break. So that's why we always have to explain that. And believe me when I say homeowners more often than not are not happy about that. Completely understand. I've taken up and put those floors in my own house, and it's not fun to do. But it's a lot better than the alternative, which is potentially getting a mold or a something that you want in your house, and then you're in a lot bigger situation.
I want to add one more little fact about mold. Mold has to have an organic material to eat and moisture to grow. So that's why the drying out process is so important. A lot of materials have the right food source in it for mold to live on, which would be a lot of paints have sugar in them, which is the weirdest thing to me ever, but it is a fact. Some molds can grow on paint real well. And again, it's not one of the biggest misconceptions is the color of mold being dangerous. There's no real color associated to whether mold is more hazardous or less hazardous. It affects different people different ways. The one good thing or true thing is it's not good for really anybody. So none of us really need to have it in our homes. But just proper humidity control, and where we live in the greater Cincinnati area, we have we're in a little bit of a bathtub of mold world. It's very easy for mold to grow here in a home that's just not conditioned, not proper ventilation, which either windows open, air conditioning running, heating running. If you just button up a house, it will probably grow just because of our natural relative humidity and the amount of mold count in the air. And the final fact that I'm going to leave about mold is that when we do our air sampling in the standard quality of care, so we'll take inside samples and outside samples as our control. And the typical results that you're looking for is equal to or less than the outside air as far as a mold count. They do a spore count. And as long as the spores are less or equal to what you're getting in the outside, is considered a healthy living environment.
And then lastly, too, on the mold, more often than not, we see people that say, "Hey, I've already cleaned up the mold. Don't worry, I hit it with bleach." Bleach is not a good mold eliminator. It does not eliminate mold. Bleach, you can actually spray mold with bleach, and you'll more often than not get a different color of mold. But you're not actually eliminating it, right? You're essentially giving it a nice blonde highlight to the mold. And because bleach is mainly made up of water, you're actually feeding that mold. So it will it'll continue to grow in that same exact area. It'll just be a different color. And then going on to storm cleanup. So like I said, we do travel all around the country. One of probably the nicest thing about having so many franchises of SERVPROs around the country is that we always have backup. We always have other teams to call in the instance of needing extra support. Hurricanes, different storm work across the United States is where we see that more often than not. So we actually have a disaster recovery team from our corporate office that will mobilize. They will take down semi trucks full of equipment and different equipment that we need, different things that we need on site, so that we have everything can get the mitigation restoration process started. You know, this picture here to the left of the screen that you see is really what you get when you show up to a hurricane. You know, a lot of times, especially if 3, 4, 5 feet of water has rushed through these homes, everything in them is damaged. Everything in them is going to be thrown away. And unfortunately, we're there, you know, to help them, to help the homeowner get through that. But they're in the same spot, right? They see all their belongings, all their family heirlooms, you know, photo albums, things like that, just being pitched. And, you know, we try to help that process as easy as possible. And the way that we can do that is by, you know, being people. We come down to their level. We make sure that they know that we're there to help. We're not there to you know, hit the lottery. We're not there to, you know, just go down and hang out and have a cool vacation. And our guys are looking forward to like that. That's not what it's about. It is about going down to help people who are in dire need and really have to have this cleanup that we're able to do for them. That's why we mobilize. That's why we go out of town and try to get these people back in order as quickly as we can. A lot of times these storms last 3, 6, 9 months, even a year more. You know, Hurricane Katrina was a multi-year process, and people still were battling insurance or going back and forth with insurance even a decade later about what they were actually going to be covered on. Patrick, do you have anything to add on the storm side?
Yeah, it is definitely not a vacation for the guys. Last example we went to was Hurricane Ian, and one of the big misconceptions is that it's ocean water, but it's not. It is ocean water with all the sewage, biological items. I mean, there was actually a gentleman, I do believe, that passed away from a flesh-eating virus while we were down there because it was in the water. You know, and it's one of those things. I mean, it picks up chemicals, you know, so it's definitely, that is why everything in somebody's house basically is lost. And it's horrible. So during those kind of events, it's pretty much you're removing all the drywall, all the organic material, and we're able to clean and disinfect the framework we build back. So it is extremely devastating and emotional. And the guys, when we get down there, we're working 16, 18-hour days every day, 7 days a week. So they really, it's not a vacation, but it is, everybody's compelled to do it. And it's one of those things that, it is the closest we get to be to a hero. So that's where, you know, it is a great feeling.
Absolutely. And then some community outreach that we do. So each year we do holiday gatherings or charitable gatherings for canned food drives, different things to help the community locally. And then here's some larger things that SERVPRO does on more of a national scale. So we always sponsor the First Responder Bowl. It's a NCAA college bowl game that happens yearly that we cover in Texas. So it's First Responder Bowl. We always bring out firefighters, different first responders around the country to kind of highlight them. Another thing that SERVPRO is in, and this is really neat if you haven't heard about it yet, I just heard about it a few months ago and I've been looking into it, is the Firefighter Challenge League that SERVPRO is sponsoring, and that's actually taking place across the United States with different teams of local fire departments and fire teams who compete in these challenges, bring awareness or bring some eyeballs to the firefighter community, and also help with different charitable donations and ways to help the communities that they're a part of. If you're a golfer, the PGA Tour, SERVPRO has been a sponsor of the PGA Tour for a long time. Something that I like to highlight, especially being on the sales side and golfing a little bit. Not good at it, but definitely try my best. And then I get a kick out of the
Braxton Bush.
Yeah, Braxton Bush. So Kyle Bush's son is actually the youngest sponsor of SERVPRO right now. We started sponsoring him, I believe, when he was 4 years old, and now he is 8 or 9. But you always see his car, and I would imagine that he's going to be like his dad, eventually a NASCAR racer as well. So anywhere that we can be a help in the community, we like to do so. You know, it pays pays it forward for us so that we can help out. And, you know, it goes hand in hand, exactly what we're looking for. And that is helping the community in any way that we can.
On a local level, you know, this past year we did Star 93.3, a radio station. We did some sponsorship with them, and it was a Rainbow Wish or type thing, John Christmas Wish. John got to hear himself on the radio, which was kind of fun for me. Now in Hamilton, we do the Corn Stand Jam, we do the River's Edge. This weekend's Hollow Earth Festival. And we always like to support our local firefighters any chance we get. You know, we do a lot of their tournaments and softball leagues. And I know we're lucky enough this year to have the firefighters convention that's spooking up this year. We do work with spooking up and do some sponsorship there as well.
Yep.
We're big into our community, as you guys know.
Yeah, the community is what takes care of us. The community is who calls us and you know, fills us in on different areas that we can help out. You know, we're always looking for ways that we can do better and do more. So anytime that somebody says, hey, maybe try this avenue, you know, go ask these guys if you can help, go try something new, we're all about it. You know, we have a great team here at SERVPRO. We actually have about 25 employees, always looking to add and grow to that since we've, you know, Patrick purchased purchased SERVPRO over a decade ago, just about a decade ago, and has really grown the business, and just looking for really good people in our area to become part of the team. And then lastly, you've probably heard the slogan before, but SERVPRO, we really work to make it like it never even happened. That is the goal of any loss. Doesn't matter the kind, doesn't matter what's going on. We want you to get back to pre-loss condition as fast as possible. So we want to minimize your interruption. If it's a business that's flooded, if it's a business that experienced a fire, obviously, no, you guys are a business. You've got to get back on. You've got employees to pay, and if work is stopped, that means that the family life is stopped as well, because they don't know exactly where their paychecks are coming from and how to continue. So, you know, whether it's a personal property, a business that's experienced a loss, our goal is always to get there and get it taken care of as fast as possible. So why we offer the 24-hour 365 response. If you call us at 2 o'clock in the morning tonight and say, hey, my house is flooding, my office is experiencing a fire, we're going to be there to start the mitigation process the same day, and as quickly as possible. We have a goal nationwide to be at any loss within 4 hours. Our office here, you know, we cut that goal in half. We want to be there on site and working to get it cleaned up within 2 hours. And really, we see more often than not, we're there within an hour and a half to start the mitigation process and at least get you stabilized, so that we can get working to get you back in order. And again, like it never even happened.
I do want to, I almost forgot to mention, you know, we did a fundraiser at Third Eye in Sharonville, and it was actually for Billy's business, you know, the Butler County Promise, and that was a great learning experience. We delivered the check to them and got to walk the building and really see what Billy does. It's really a fantastic organization. You know, we need more awareness for those kind of things that we do in Hamilton and the area in Butler County. There's a lot of it out there. I tell everybody that it's not John's downplaying this, because we don't just take care of people's homes and businesses. We take care of them personally. We challenge our guys every day to do something we call above and beyond. We've had them go as far as, you know, obviously you take up the garbage can, you take the packages into the house. We've had them walk dogs for people before. We've had to move furniture for people before. Just whatever a customer might need, we have no problem.
I'm some lost dogs every now and again.
Yes, we've had to hunt cats and dogs. You know, so it does happen.
It absolutely does. And Patrick's right. You know, the team that we have here at SERVPRO, they're looking for those ways to help out in unique ways. And you know, that we don't walk over problems. We're gonna, if we see something that needs to be done, we're gonna help with it. A great example, and I go back to this one because it happened in the last year. We had a customer who was experienced a loss. The husband just had back surgery, I believe, and was unable to do a whole lot. He was on bed rest, and she was dealing with the loss, something that the husband would normally have taken care of for her. So Justin, one of our crew chiefs, stepped in and said, "Hey, where can I help you? Where can I find out, find a way to make your day better?" So as we were taking care of the water loss that was in the basement, he's talking to her outside. She's letting him know what's going on and how, they've been impacted with the recent back surgery and everything else going on, the day-to-day life, right? Throughout the conversation, you notice, hey, your gutters are a little bit full, and just wanted to give you a heads up that could lead to another loss. I don't want you to be back in this situation. And then that's when he finds out about the back surgery and, what's been going on. So he said, hey, you know what? I'm going to take the time to just throw up a ladder and I can clean out your gutters for you really quick. That's not a problem. It's nothing that we're going to charge for. Obviously, it's nothing that we're here for, but it's being a human. It's, looking out for ways to help others when they're in need. And that's what we're always looking to do any way that we can. So that's absolutely right. Every day, our guys are going above and beyond for their customers and the community. And we obviously like to highlight that, but at the same time, we more than anything, we want to make sure that they're taken care of and back in order.
On the topic, the less popular and less glorified job that we do is the trauma scene cleaning. We do a lot of unattended death cleanups, suicide cleanups, we've had some that are just accidental. People get cut, don't necessarily die, but they bleed all over the properties and things like that. And the guys are all trained to handle that safely, securely, and discreetly, let's put it too, because there are some situations where people, and sometimes it's embarrassing. I mean, we do have hoarding situations as well where people do not want to publicize that they have a family member that likes to collect things. Everything, but those are things that we help people out with as well. We do a lot of that, which has compelled me to get involved with our Butler County Envision Partnership Group. I'm part of the Lost Dolls team, where we do go out and sit with family members during the time of tragedy. Again, another great thing that Butler County offers. So I am very proud and happy to be a member of our community.
Absolutely. I know we're wrapping up a little bit early, a few minutes ahead of schedule here, but we're happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Anything that's we left out that we could improve on, anything like that?
Or we could ask Dan about his experience. I know we had Kevin at your house, Dan. How did that go for you?
Well, I understand the stress of when you walk in your basement and a pipe has burst and water's spewing everywhere. So, I guess the best thing is, I was out in the backyard and didn't even know that it was happening. And so, when I was finally called in, like, you better get in here and see what's going on. I walked downstairs, I saw like 3 inches of water in the basement office, and I walked back out and said, I cannot deal with this. I went out and sat on the back porch and called Patrick. So, because I knew it was, it's one thing if you have a little bit of water. As soon as I saw this, I'm like, this is way beyond what we can handle. So I will say this, it is very stressful. And, unfortunately, I got my 1868 piano desk, which structurally survived, still has to be refinished. But I think I feel I'm a relatively intelligent person, but when you're emotionally involved, you don't know what to do. And it is really great to have someone come in and say, this is what's going to happen. This is how this is going to go, and all that type of thing. And because it was Patrick's team, I could, leave my house, leave them in it. I didn't have to sit there. I felt confident that I didn't have to worry about my possessions or anything like that. So they kind of came in, took over. I will tell you a funny story, though. The first night I came home after they had removed all the water, I don't even know how many fans they had in my basement, like at least 7. And, I didn't think anything of it. I unlocked the door and walked in, and I'm like, oh my God, there's an airplane in the basement. So, but I appreciate it because I thought that they would never be able to get all the water out. And, we have carpeting down there and everything. And, there was very little loss actually. So it was only a few, I mean, the computer didn't make it and things like that. So we kind of expected that there was a computer on the desk, but they usually don't work too well when water's running out of them. So, but for the most part, it was, it could have been a very, very bad situation. And your guys came in and took care of it. And when I asked questions, they got answered, and and then came back afterwards and cleaned the carpet that did survive and stuff like that. So it was actually ended up being an okay experience. I don't wish it on anybody, but thank God they were there, because, like I said, I just went out and sat on the back porch and made a phone call and said, I am not dealing with this. So.
You hit a little topic, Dan, that I wanted to kind of bring up too. There are situations where there is a small amount of water, and we will never direct anybody and try to turn something into more than it is. So I would encourage everybody to, it's okay to make that call, and reach out. And I mean, advice is free, that's the key, because taking care of something simple at home yourself, as long as it's taking care of property with a little bit of good advice, you won't have any risk of, the M word growing, as long as we can give a little bit of advice, and that's okay. We don't mind doing free advice.
We also offer free estimates, whether it's a water loss, hey, I just want to get my garage cleaned out for some spring cleaning. We have estimators that are trained to be able to provide that info and let you know exactly what's going to go into a project. We just want to be able to help and guide and give our expertise. And like Patrick was saying, we never want to take advantage of anybody or give off the, hey, we just care about what's the bottom line, what's the invoice gonna say. That's never the case. We want to be a resource for the community.
I will say this also, when the pipe burst, because I was actually yanking on the hose, which broke the pipe in the basement for the outside faucets. So that's what created the whole thing. But anyway, these things, in my experience, never happen during a normal workday. So this was also on a Sunday. And thank heavens to being the chamber president and knowing who to call. I want to do a shout out to Jeff Lipscomb too, because I made 2 phone calls. I called Patrick on a Sunday, who I think was having a football party or something. I know Jeff Lipscomb was, and they both dropped whatever they were doing and made sure I was taken care of. So I do appreciate that. So having the right people in your cell phone is really, really, really important. So I suggest that you go through the chamber directory, and the people that you may need in case of an emergency that you're not anticipating, have them in your cell phone.
Absolutely. That actually leads us to a slide that I didn't throw in, but I definitely should have, which is our ERPs, our emergency response plan or profile. So, a lot of people on this call are business owners. A lot of people have offices that they rely on being up and running. And these ERPs that we can put together are good resources for if you have somebody sitting at the front desk, but maybe the owner or the building facility manager isn't there, a maintenance person isn't there. So it just directs those individuals of where shutoff would be for water shutoffs, gas shutoffs, what to do in the case of a water loss. Who do you need to call? First steps in the process, and we put those together for free. It's just a nice resource to be able to keep at the front counter, or managers to hang on to, so that they have a resource to go to if that, I wasn't anticipating this, because we're never anticipating a water loss. We're never anticipating a fire to happen. We're never anticipating taking out and doing a reconstruction project and then removing a wall and seeing, there's a lot of mold back here. What do I do? So those ERPs are good, something good to have, especially before your loss happens. So if you don't have one, let Patrick know, let myself know. We're happy to get those taken care of for you so that you're prepared.
I have one. We're going.
But you can also do those at your home. So
the other thing I'll give you kudos for is your team. If they said they were going to arrive at 9 o'clock, they were in the house by 9 o'clock. So, because like I said, I didn't feel like staying there, so I would just leave when they arrived. And honestly, if he was going to be 2 minutes late, they would call me and say, we're going to be 2 minutes late. So, and you appreciate that too, because if you work with many contractors today, that is not the norm. So when they say 9 o'clock on Tuesday, then they never say which Tuesday. So, so it really took what was basically a negative experience and made it very palatable. So
That's the goal, man. That is really the goal, is to make a horrible situation a little more tolerable.
Yeah, we always say, under promise, over deliver. They're probably not gonna love you the first night, right, Dan? I don't think you were clapping up Kevin and saying, thank you so much, or everything looks great, right? But by the time they leave, we want to have that good relationship, and we want to leave with a handshake and a smile, and everybody trusting us and wanting to call us back if anything happens. But we also understand that we're not being called in because they're having such a great day.
right. It wasn't to have drinks and socialize, that's for sure. So
that's the last day.
Yes. To touch base on the airplanes out of the house, there's a calculation that we have based off of the square, actually it's a cubic airspace, and it tells us exactly what we need to do equipment wise, count, type and style, to make certain that our goal is to get it dried out as fast as possible, so you don't have to deal with it. I'd rather you deal with an airplane for a couple of days than a smaller airplane for a week. The noise is going to be the same. It's going to be there no matter what. So that's how we come up with that calculation.
Laura, did you have a question?
I would also like you all to share your information with everyone. So if anyone does need to get in contact with you.
Absolutely. Our office number is 513-737-8776.
Which ironically spells 513 SERVPRO.
Yeah.
So it's super simple.
Very easy. And again, we're SERVPRO East Central Cincinnati and Oxford Hamilton. You can find us on the Google review or the Google pages. We have a website for each page. And then I believe our information is also on the Hamilton Chamber page as well.
Yes.
and it's also on the Explore Hamilton app.
Yes, it is. I've been using that a lot more lately, Dan, since you kind of pointed it out to me multiple times.
So
It is a good app. It's a great app.
thank you.
Any other questions or anything that we can answer for you?
I think that must be it. So Patrick and John, we thank you for being with us today. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Our next coffee is scheduled for Tuesday, April 23rd, back here on Zoom. So please go ahead and register for that. Find out all the past coffees are on our YouTube channel. So you can always go back and resource those, or they're on our Facebook page also. So we appreciate you two being here, and we will see everyone in a couple of weeks.
Thank you for the time. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.